Hello, welcome back to another episode of Slide Review, and this is the last slide review for prelims. Next week, magkakaroon tayo ng madaming exams, no? Meron tayong unit test for the lecture part and the slide review practical exam for the laboratory part. So for today, ang topic natin is integumentary system or simply the skin. So the following are the must-knows with this topic. First, ang arrangement ng layers of your epidermis. Second, the type of cells present per layer, their function, and the function of layers. And we have basic types of gland na makikita or ma-identify and na-differentiate by histology. Basically, we have three basic layers of the skin. We have epidermis, which is the outermost layer, dermis, and meron tayong technically hindi na siya part ng skin, pero ang pangalan niya is hypodermis. Ang ibig sabihin ng hypodermis, nasa ilalim ng dermis. This is not part of the skin kasi itong layer na to is what we call the subcutaneous layer. So, tatanungin natin yan pagdating sa exam. What is the other term for hypodermis? It is the subcutaneous layer. So, bakit hindi siya dapat kasama sa part ng integumentary system? Dahil ang iba yung kanyang functionality and hindi siya nag-share ng the same type of cells and connective tissue as compared to your skin. So, sa technicality, hindi talaga siya kasama sa layers of the skin. Okay? So, dapat ang sagot, if ano yung mga layers ng skin, ang dapat natin sasagutin, epidermis and dermis lang. So, in a much more detailed structures, no? Ito yung epidermis, which is the outermost layer of the skin. Next is, ito naman yung pinakamakapal, mas makapal sa epidermis, yung dermal layer or dermis. The next, after dermis is the hypodermis. Ano ulit ang other term for hypodermis? It is your subcutaneous tissue. So, balik tayo with dermis. Dahil makapal nga siya, no, we have another two sublayers. So, we have yung outermost layer ng dermis is your papillary dermis. The innermost layer of your dermis is reticular dermis. Kung maalala nyo, before dun sa ating connective tissue topic, anong type of connective tissue meron kay papillary dermis? It is the loose connective tissue. Pagdating kay reticular dermis, meron siyang dense irregular connective tissue. Okay, i-zoom pa natin ng mas mabuti. Ito ang outer layer natin, yung epidermis. Diba? Meron tayong delineation, no, ng dermis and epidermis. Okay? And then the next layer, meron na tayong papillary dermis, which has the loose connective tissue. Nakikita, kung mapapansin nyo, yung ating mga loose spaces after the epidermis layer. And then, after that, meron na tayong mga dense irregular connective tissue. Lesser ang amount of space as compared to this, no? And mas the same din ng orientation, magulo din ang orientation. So, dikit ang space, so dense. Magulo ang orientation, irregular. So, dense irregular connective tissue to. Okay? Hindi halata ang delineation ng dalawang layer, so kailangan focus natin yung kanilang arrangement of the fibers. Now, we will focus on epidermis. Our outermost layer is stratum corneum. The next layer is not consistently present all throughout the skin. May some parts lang na meron nito, yung ating stratum lucidum. Ano mga parts ng katawan ang meron ng itong layer na to? Yung mga makakapal, no? Yun ay palms and soles of the feet. Next layer, yung ating stratum granulosum. Okay? Next naman, stratum spinosum, which is the thickest layer of your epidermis. And the innermost layer is stratum basale or stratum germinativum. So, ulitin lang natin, no? Stratum corneum is the outermost. Okay? And then, stratum lucidum. Hindi masyadong halata yung delineation ng lucidum and corneum dito sa slide na to. Anyway, let's proceed with stratum granulosum, your granular layer, kaya medyo dark ang kulay. Okay? Stratum spinosum. And yung pinaka loob is stratum germinativum or stratum basale. For mnemonics, para hindi tayo masyadong nalilito kung ano ang outermost going innermost, sa other books, ang sabi ng as mnemonics daw, Californians like girls in string bikinis. Corneum, lucidum, granulosum, spinosum, and basale. Pero kung nasa Philippines ka, ang ating mnemonics, cancel lab and get some beer. So C again for corneum, L lucidum, G granulosum, S spinosum, B basale. Okay, let's focus on the innermost layer of your epidermis, stratum basale or germinativum. Ano ang meron sa layer na to? Anong mga type of cells? We have basal keratinocytes. Ano ibig sabihin ng basal keratinocytes? Ito yung mga stem cells which can mature into keratinocytes na may capability to produce a protein called keratin. Next, your melanocytes, nandito rin. Sila ang nagproproduce ng melanin. Ano ang difference ng iyong keratin and melanin? So, recall lang natin ang ating keratin. It is a protein that helps us to protect against friction and abrasion. Melanin protects us against UV light. And melanin confers the color brown to our skin. Next cells are your Merkel cells. Ano ba itong mga Merkel cells? This is tactile receptors. Ano ibig sabihin ng tactile receptors? Sila yung taga-receive ng signals from external stimulus such as ang Merkel cells, specific yan for light touch. Kaya nararamdaman ninyo or nafe-feel ninyo yung gapang ng langgam or ipis, no? Kahit manipis yung kanilang mga paa, nararamdaman nyo na yung kanilang sensation na yon. Next naman, your Langerhans cells. Langerhans cells serves as your tissue macrophage of the skin. So, ayan na naman. Magpapamemorize ulit ako ng macrophage. So, recall nga natin kung ano ang macrophage of your brain. Brain is microglia. Your bone is osteoclast. And now, for the skin, Langerhans. And recall din natin ulit, ano ba yung mga roles ng tissue macrophages natin? It is for the phagocytosis of foreign substances and for antigen presentation. Kaya it is also called as antigen presenting cells or APC. The next layer is stratum spinosum. And technically, ito yung pinaka-makapal na layer of your epidermis. Stratum spinosum or spinous layer or prickle cell layer, it contains your keratinocytes, which is yung mature one as compared to your basal keratinocytes pa yan, no? Mga bata pang na keratinocytes. Pagdating dito sa layer na to, nagmamature na sila. And also, melanocytes, makikita rin dito. Since mature na yung mga keratinocytes na makikita sa stratum spinosum, the major function now is for the keratinization. And again, the keratin is for the protection against friction and abrasion. So, in higher objective, no, ito yung makikita natin in stratum spinosum. So, meron tayong makikitang mga tawag dito, keratin filaments. Okay? Itong mga keratin filaments, ito yung mga hair-like structures. And pag nakagrupo na sila, it will form the tonofibrils. And kapag nag-accumulate yung mga tonofibrils, it will form what you call the desmosomes. Itong functional unit na to will collectively resist the friction and pressure exposed from the external stimuli. Halimbawa, nadapa kayo, no? Nagkakaroon ngayon ng protection para hindi malapnos or matanggal sa yung buong skin from the body. Next layer is stratum granulosum. From the name itself, granular ang appearance niya under microscope. So, yan yung mga granules. And ano yung mga type of granules present in this layer? It is what you call the keratohyalin and lamellar granules. This specific granule serves as a toxic compound against the bacteria, mga fungi, and even parasites. Kaya in a person na maganda yung immune system, very nourished, yung mga yan, hindi sila agad nagkakaroon ng skin infection. No? Kaya the general function of your stratum granulosum is it serves as a barrier against foreign materials such as your bacteria. Okay? Kaya yung mga patient na nagkakaroon ng problema such as pigsa, no? Pigsain, every month nagkakaroon sila ng formation of boils. Magsususpect tayo ngayon na may problem sila sa stratum granulosum. Next layer is stratum lucidum. Lucidum means clear or white. Kaya ito yung appearance nila under microscope. And in this layer, it contains what we call eladin-containing cells. And eladin, no, kapag pinagsama-sama mo yung mga yan, it will form a densely packed protection from your friction and pressure. So, magkita itong layer na to sa mga parts lang ng katawan natin na meron tayong constant exposure, such as yung palms and soles of our feet. Next layer is stratum corneum. And stratum corneum now contains what we call corneocytes or dead cells. And in other books, makikita nyo rin, may tinatawag tayong horny cells, no? Hindi siya yung horny na iniisip nyo. Mamaya papakita ko bakit siya tinawag na horny cells. And in other books, ang tawag din is squamous. In this layer, di ba ang sabi ko sa inyo, technically, ang pinakamakapal is stratum spinosum. Pero in this slide, bakit mas makapal si stratum corneum? Ang layers ng stratum corneum is not consistent. No? Halimbawa, nagpa-scrub ka, it can remove a lot of these layers. So, depende na lang, no, kung lagi ka ba nagsuscrub or hindi. So, hindi sila consistently makapal, unlike your stratum spinosum. And ayun nga, Tinawag silang horny cells dahil meron silang structure. Ang structure nila is horn-like structures. Kung ma-imagine nyo yung horn ng halimbawa ng mga deers, mga yan, okay? Nakaangat sila, no? Kasi kaya ito rin yung reason kaya madalas silang natatanggal kasi ganito yung ang structure nila, madalas silang natatanggal during scrubbing. Okay? Next major layer of your skin is the dermis. Again, what are the two sublayers of your dermis? The outermost is papillary dermis. And next layer, which is mas makapal, is reticular dermis. To know the difference between these two, so I have prepared a table, no, para mas madali natin intindihin. Papillary dermis is much more superficial, okay, outermost, no? And reticular dermis is the deeper layer of the dermis. The type of tissue, again, loose connective tissue ang meron kay papillary dermis. Reticular dermis naman, dense, irregular connective tissue. Huwag tayong magpapalito, guys, ha? Irregular yan. Type of collagen naman, papillary dermis contains type 7 collagen. Reticular dermis contains type 1 collagen. And lastly, nagkaiba rin sila ng function. Papillary dermis serves as an anchorage lang, no? It will connect your dermis layer to your epidermis. While your reticular dermis will provide elasticity. Okay, dito naman tayo sa ating hair or parts of the hair. So, punta tayo sa pinakaloob. So, ang pinakaloob is what we call the dermal papilla, no? The connection between your dermal papilla and the hair follicle is the matrix. Ito nga yung matrix na to, ito yung point of growth. Sa dermal papilla, dito lang nagkakaroon ng blood supply or source of nourishment for the hair. So, itong dermal papilla plus the matrix will form the hair bulb. Okay, dito na tayo sa hair follicle naman. So, dito sa malapit sa hair bulb, we have the root sheaths. No? May makikita kayong parang, di ba, kung mapapansin natin, mas makapal ang buhok pag papunta na siya dun sa bulb. Kasi meron silang presence of the root sheaths. So, pinakaloob, internal root sheaths. Pinakalabas is external root sheaths. And then, pag labas na siya ng skin, no, meron na tayong magko-combine yan into one sheath only, called dermal sheath. And then, nakikita nyo na yung ating cortex and medulla. Ano ibig sabihin ng cortex? Ang cortex lagi, no, the outer layer, medulla yung inner layer. So, ang mnemonic sa ating COMI, C-O-M-I. Cortex, outer, medulla, inner. Another view, no, mas detailed view of the hair bulb. So dito tayo sa source of blood supply and nourishment, yung dermal papilla. Yung point of growth, yung ating matrix, the connection between the dermal papilla and the hair follicle. And itong grupo na to, it is collectively known as the hair bulb. So, next, ito yung tinatawag natin mga root sheaths. So, we have external, yung pinaka-outer part. Internal root sheaths. Okay? So, sa loob naman tayo, we have, yung pinaka-loob is medulla. Outermost is the cortex. And, next is the cuticle. Cuticle is not consistently present sa lahat ng buhok. Natatanggal yan during damage na or mga chemical exposure during mga hair treatments. So, natatanggal din yung mga yan. And this cuticle is supposedly can provide gloss to your hair or much more tag dito strength din dun sa buhok kasi it is considered as another layer. Okay, cross section naman tayo. Okay? Pinakaloob again is the medulla and then cortex. Tapos yung whiter layer or the lighter colored layer is the cuticle, which is again not consistently present. Next is the internal root sheath and yung fatty content natin. Merong fatty content no dun sa ating layer which dun sa ating buhok kasi it will provide an anchorage between the skin and the hair follicle. So ito yung external root sheaths natin. Kung mapapansin nyo, no, parang loose connective tissue yung meron sa kanya. Okay, glands naman tayo. In histology, dalawa ang type of glands, no? We have sebaceous and sweat glands. In terms of function, meron tayong eccrine, holocrine, merocrine, and apocrine. Pero dito, pag-uusapan natin is sebaceous and sweat glands kasi yun lang kaya natin i-differentiate or ma-identify under microscope. So, tingnan natin ang ating sebaceous gland. Sebaceous gland is histologically characterized as branch acinar gland. Ano ibig sabihin ng acinar gland? Acinar means sac-like structures or parang sako ng bigas, no? Or bag-like structures, kung mapapansin natin. And sinasabi nila, no, it is also branching. Halimbawa, dito sa side ng hair follicle na to, no, we have three branching sebaceous glands. So, ganyan usually ang form ng mga sebaceous glands. Branching and acinar form. Again, dito tayo. Actually, ito ay cancer of the sebaceous gland. Kasi kung mapapansin natin, no, sobrang daming branching. So, abnormal na yung number of branching dito. Pero, nilagay ko na lang dito para ma-appreciate nyo yung sac-like shape niya. Okay, mukhang sako. So, again, sebaceous glands serve as a source of oil. And oil also helps for the nourishment and protection against foreign bodies. So, mas oily ang hair, mas healthy daw, no? Pero again, no, natatanggal yan during shampooing, may mga namamatay din yan during mga hair treatments. Kaya after hair treatments, di ba mapapansin nyo, sobrang dry dahil nawawala or namamatay yung sebaceous glands natin. Next naman ay mga sweat glands. And ano ang histologic characteristic ng sweat glands? It is tubular, mukhang mga tubo, and hindi branching. Kaya ang term is simple. Simple tubular gland ngayon ang ating mga sweat glands. So, ano naman ang function ng mga sweat glands? Primarily, to produce sweat, and production of sweat has an important role in thermoregulation. Diba? Kapag mainit lang, doon tayo nagpapawis. And yung napoproduce niyang tawag dito, water or doon sa sweat, doon sa skin natin, it will cool down the temperature of your body. So before we end this session, let's have an activity. Please bring out a piece of paper and a pen and try to answer the following questions without looking at your notes. You have 30 seconds to answer each question and let's practice no, kung gaano tayo kabilis mag-isip. Okay? Are you ready? So, number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Number 6. Number 7. Number 8. Number 9. Last number, number 10. Okay, time's up. And check your own answers tayo. So, number 1, what is the specific pointed structure? The answer is hair matrix. So, kailangan specific tayo, no? Hindi lang matrix kasi ang daming parts ng katawan natin na may matrix. So, kailangan organ specific tayo. Next item, give one function of the bracketed layer. So, the answer is for keratinization. Identify muna natin kung anong layer yung pinapoint ng question. And read the question carefully. So, baka yung iba sa inyo, agad-agad, no? May nakita lang na naka-pointed structure. Stratum spinosum na agad ang answeran nyo. Dapat basahin nyo mabuti yung question. So, ang question is, what is the function of the bracketed structure? So, ang primary function ng stratum spinosum is for keratinization. Next number, give one function of the bracketed layer again. So, ito yung pinapoint ng tanong na to, no? So, mukha silang mga bags or sacs. So, ano ulit itong mga structure na to? These are your sebaceous glands. Now, again, no? The question is, give one function. So, the answer is for sebum production. And sebum is also in layman's term, your oil. Next, identify the layer. So, itong blue bracket. So, ano yung layer na to? This is your hypodermis or your subcutaneous layer. So, paano natin nalaman na hypodermis to? Dahil itong mga fatty layer. Diba? Again, yung mga fat cells natin, they resist staining techniques. So, wala silang kulay. And these are all adipose tissue. So, nasa hypodermis ka. Number 5. Identify the layer of the pointed structure. In black arrow dapat tayo, no? So, read carefully the instructions. So, ito yung tinatanong natin. So, anong layer ito? Ano ang supposedly answer? Your stratum granulosum. Stratum granulosum is characterized by the presence of the granules. Kaya dark staining itong layer na to. Number 6, identify the layer of the bracketed structure. Be specific. The answer is papillary dermis. Specific dapat tayo kasi kung dermis lang, baka half point lang yan. So, kung sinabi naman sa tanong ay be specific, dapat kumpleto. Papillary dermis, hindi pwedeng dermis lang. So, papillary dermis, binaligtad ko lang yung slide na to, no? Ito actually yung outermost. So, this is the stratum corneum, the granulosum. Wala tong lucidum dito sa slide na to. Spinosum, the basal layer or stratum basale, and your papillary dermis, characterized by the presence of loose connective tissue. Number 7, give one function of the bracketed layer. Function tayo, no? Hindi tayo nag-identify ng layer. So, identify muna natin tong layer na to. Again, nakabaligtad to, no? So, this is the outermost layer, stratum, corneum, your granulosum, spinosum, and actually, hindi nyo nakikita pala ang pointer ko. Anyway, ito pala yung pointer ko. Ito yung stratum corneum, granulosum. Wala siyang lucidum in this slide. Then spinosum, basale. And then itong buong ito is your papillary dermis. And the next layer is the reticular dermis, which contains your dense irregular connective tissue. So, ang tanong, function. Ano ang function ng reticular dermis? It provides your skin elasticity or simply for elasticity. Next, identify the bracketed layer. So, describe mo natin yung nakikita natin. Ito ay hair follicle, no? Yung ating dense irregular connective tissue, which is your reticular dermis, and ito yung pointed area. So, ano kaya to? Mukha siyang bag or sac. So, this is again your sebaceous gland. Number 9. Identify the the pointed structure in white arrow. So, white dapat ang titinan natin. So, ano ang specific structure na to? This is your hair medulla. Diba? Innermost si medulla. Record lang natin outermost your cortex. Kung may clear, dito walang masyadong clear layer, no? It should be the cuticle. The next layer is the internal root sheath. Ito yan. And then, external root sheath. Dito sa slide na to, hindi halata yung cuticle natin. Last number, give the histologic characteristic of these glands. So, ang tanong is histologic characteristics. So, identify muna natin, what are these glands? These are your sweat glands. So, ano ang hinahanap nating answer? It should be simple tubular glands. So, yun yung histologic characteristic niya. Simple because it does not branch out, no? And tubular kasi mukha silang tubo in cross-section. So, thank you for staying with me for the past almost 37 minutes. Prepare for the next week's practical examination, kasabay ang unit test. So, madugo tayo next week and good luck!